Let's look at question number 6 in the final exam for Everyday Math Demystified 2nd edition. Please refer to page 235, question number 6 in the final exam. It says that energy can be expressed in terms of what? And then it gives us 5 choices having to do with electrical circuits and power and time and all kinds of things. Well, in general, energy represents the total accumulation of power over time. That is choice C. Now that question requires you to do a little bit of thinking, because the book doesn't really tell you that exactly. If you go back to page 225, it tells you that the standard unit of energy is the joule, and then it tells you some technical details about the joule, that it's the equivalent of a kilogram meter squared per second squared. We could write that mathematically. 1 joule equals 1 kilogram meter squared per second squared. Well, that's all nice and technical, and all those units are defined for you back in chapter 10 of the book. Then it goes on to tell you that the standard unit of power is the watt, which is equal to 1 joule per second. So 1 watt equals 1 joule per second. Joule is the unit of energy, so power represents energy per unit time, or the rate at which energy is expended. Now, if you turn that inside out in your head, you will get the notion that in fact joules are the same thing as watt seconds. So 1 joule of energy equals 1 watt second of power. So 2 joules of energy, 2 watt seconds. Now that could be 2 watts for 1 second, or 1 watt for 2 seconds. So in fact, energy, and you'll hear energy and power often used interchangeably. We talk about the energy crisis, or your power shortage, or the amount of power that a particular piece of equipment draws from the utility mains, or the amount of energy that it requires. Remember that energy is an overall and total amount of stuff, well, matter is energy. We could get into relativity theory, but we're not going to do that. Energy is, for example, a gallon of gasoline might contain a certain amount of energy. If you burn that gasoline at a certain rate, you're going to have a certain amount of power coming out of that, say horsepower, for a certain amount of time, say an hour. You might get a horsepower engine to run for an hour on a certain amount of gasoline. That gasoline contains energy, which gets converted to power at a certain rate. So once again, the correct answer to this question is C. Energy represents power accumulated over time. You have to think a little bit to get that one right, but it's there.